The House Oversight Committee tonight making more than 33,000 pages of the Jeffrey Epstein case records public. CNN has them. We've been going through them as we speak. So far, we've determined that they contain flight logs and court filings and surveillance footage. Now, there's reason to believe these are the materials the panel received from the Justice Department a little more than a week ago, which you'll remember Democratic Committee member Ro Khanna said was just a fraction of what the DOJ actually has.
Our lawyers were up all night, and we now have a fact that only 3% of the documents that were given to us were new. 97% were already in the public domain. And less than 1% of the Epstein files have actually been released.
This comes with the House back from a 5-week recess, and Congressman Khanna, along with committee Republican Thomas Massie, starting to gather signatures to force a floor vote compelling the DOJ to release all the Epstein files it has. Now, in addition, some of the women who survived Epstein's abuses spoke to lawmakers today and plan to hold a press conference tomorrow. We'll hear more from them in a moment. We begin our coverage at the Capitol with CNN's Manu Raju. So what more are you learning about these documents and whether any of them contain actually new information?
You know, Anderson, we are still going through it. I mean, there's a huge amount of records here, 33,000 pages. But in our initial review of this, it appears that a lot of this is information that has already been public or has been publicized in other ways. Court filings, some surveillance footage from some information relating to depositions and the like that have come out in various other settings. So it's unclear at the moment just how new this information is. But this comes as the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and other top Republicans, and including in the White House, have been trying to stop this effort, this bipartisan effort to force a vote calling for the release of all of the Epstein files. That is an effort that is being led by, as you noted, Congressman Thomas Massie and Congressman Ro Khanna. They are trying to circumvent Republican leadership and get the support of a majority of the House to force a vote on their bill calling for the release of these documents. And I caught up with some members in the aftermath of the release of these documents, including Congressman Massie. And I asked them whether or not they will continue to support this effort to vote on this bill, or whether or not they are satisfied with the information that was just released.
It's like only 1% of what they possess. And 97% of it's already been released. I'm afraid this is going to be like Pam Bondi's binders. People are going to dig into it and say there's nothing new here. They haven't given us anything. They've given us the sleeves off their vest.
The president's called it a hoax.
He's called it a hoax. I hope he doesn't say that after tomorrow when 10 of the survivors testify in public. That would be very disrespectful.
American people have been demanding answers. I've been demanding answers, and I would like to see what's actually there.
The president's called this a hoax.
And maybe it is. We'll see. But I think that we should have transparency.
And that Congressman Boebert is siding with Thomas Massie and trying to call for the release of these documents by supporting that legislation. In order for Thomas Massie to move forward and actually force a vote on the full House, and there needs to be 6 total Republicans who will sign on to this effort. Already about a handful have. So he still has work to go, because some other Republicans who have previously indicated they will back this plan told me tonight, Anderson, that they're not sure if they would in the aftermath of the release of these documents. But tomorrow, Massie indicated he believes something will change the dynamic. That's when he will have a press conference with 10 of the victims from Epstein's sex trafficking ring will join him for this news conference on Capitol Hill tomorrow morning. Those same victims meeting behind closed doors with House Oversight Committee members earlier today. But Massie thinks that could propel some Republicans to vote with him on his plan.
All right, Manu Raju, thanks so much. Joining me now is New York Democratic Congressman and former federal prosecutor Dan Goldman. He sits on the House Judiciary Committee, which has oversight of the Justice Department. We mentioned the House Oversight Committee just released that batch of records related to Epstein that it previously received from the DOJ. Congressman, do you think, it seems like there's nothing really new in these so far.
There's nothing new. This is all a charade. This is all an effort by the DOJ at Trump's direction to collaborate with Chairman James Comer and the top Republicans in Congress to give the Republicans enough so that they have political cover to conceal the Epstein files and whatever it is in there that Donald Trump is so desperate to hide after he was so desperate for it to be released.
I heard there are some Republican congressmen who are saying, well, look, what Massey and Conner are trying to do is going to, it's going to release all this information without redacting information about victims, and that's inappropriate.
That's complete bogus. First of all, we know that the FBI spent hundreds or thousands of hours going through all of these materials back in March and April when there was a house on fire to get them out, and they had to be reviewed and redacted. So I believe they're already redacted for the victim's information. What is interesting, though, is you would not ordinarily redact other associates or other potential unindicted co-conspirators or accomplices if you are releasing those. And the interesting thing for me is, are they releasing witness testimony, witness statements, not the grand jury testimony, but when the witnesses and the victims came in and met with the FBI and prosecutors and they went through their stories? That's all written in FBI 302s. That's all going to be there. That, to me, is where the most important information would be, as well as potential video, recordings if Epstein did take any. And there's no sign of those being released. And that's where Donald Trump's name would be. If his name is going to be in there, it almost certainly would be in the witness statements of the victims and others.
What did you make of Todd Blanche's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell?
It's embarrassing for him. It's absolutely humiliating. When you meet, and I was a prosecutor for 10 years, many of those with Todd Blanche, when you meet with any kind of defendant who is interested in cooperating, the first thing you do is you say, tell me what you did. Normally you do it before trial, and so they have to admit and confess to what they did in relation to that crime and other crimes. She actually said she did nothing wrong. And this is after she's been convicted by a jury. It's been upheld by the appellate court. And it was Todd Blanche's DOJ that convicted her. In an ordinary course, if you come in, and that would be the first question, which it wasn't in this, and she says, no, I didn't do anything wrong. The verdict is wrong. You end it. You go home because the jury speaks. And you also, of course, as the prosecutor, have put on so many witnesses and so much evidence to the contrary that there's absolutely nothing credible that she could say if she can't even admit to her own conduct. The litany of other errors and malfeasance and just gross politicized, weaponized misconduct can go on, and it's so clear that her only chance of getting out of jail is a pardon, so she's going to say whatever they want her to say. But I think you take those transcripts, those recordings, you throw them in the trash. They're worthless.
What do you think is actually going to happen? I mean, here in Congress, I mean, do you think these files, these reports are ever going to really come out?
Look, I've learned in my 2.5 years that it is impossible to put yourself in the head of the Republican majority and the leaders of the Republican Party. They continue to come up with different ways of caving to Donald Trump, of doing whatever he wants. Mike Johnson shut down Congress a week early because he didn't even want to deal with these Epstein files. But the fact of the matter is this is a cover-up. This is a massive cover-up. They're not just stonewalling. They're trying to do it through charades and sleight of hand, so to speak. But they are covering something up. This Donald Trump was hot to trot, and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were leading the charge to release the Epstein files. Now, all of a sudden, they don't want them released. They are trying to hide something. And by releasing these documents, most of which have been released before, others will not have any relevant information. My suspicion is that the Oversight Committee is colluding with the Department of Justice. If you look at a resolution, an alternative resolution they're going to present this week, it does not call for the witness statements. It gives all sorts of, goes through many different sections, types of information that should be released. It does include the witness statements. If it doesn't include the witness statements, then it doesn't include the core of the Epstein files.
Congressman Goldman, I appreciate your time. Thanks very much.